Party time, Mom. Welcome to another episode of the Chad Prather Show. It is a special Wednesday Hump Day edition coming to you with some breaking information, news, and headlines and stuff that you know is going on in the world. And we're bringing it to you here from the mothership, which is Studio 22. The Puppet Master Mark is at the helm. Candice, the queen of the Ethiopians, is sitting over there. Look at her in those glasses. Look at she looks so studious. No negative comments, boy. She's 23, all right? You're a child. You're a child. Women only watch this show anyway. You know why? That's it. Hot News Natalie sitting over there at Party Foul Pub alongside Party Foul himself. Love y'all. God bless Poke. That's a fantastic shirt.
It is.
What's it say at the very bottom? It's almost like a reading chart.
Yep.
Oh, Chad Prather. That is fantastic.
Little bitty letters.
You know what? The other day, I like to be obscure. You know, I don't like calling attention to myself. I don't have a whole lot of vanity. But my face is on a silver coin right there. Silver coin. You can get the official currency of the party apocalypse. It's party time, Mom. Just go over to GMR Gold or Bullion Box and get you one. It'll get you 20% off of merch like this. We sold a bunch of these things yesterday because I was talking about them on the podcast Monday. The Unapologetic Patriot. Steve's going to get that tattooed right on his butt, right on his inner thigh. Yeah,
the shaft.
Go to watchchad.com. Get all the information. Ouch. Go get it. Go get it. Sexy.
Chad.
What?
That's my favorite hat on you.
This one, I don't like it.
It's really?
Yeah, this is blue. For those of you who think it's black, it's actually blue. It's American Hat Company. Bam, there it is. And I wear a lot of I usually wear the silver gray, right? The steel gray, as they call it. And I don't wear the dark a whole lot. I don't know. Leaves a bigger shadow. I'm feeling fat today. I'm feeling bloated, Candace. I'm working on it, though. I'm back on a nutrition plan. I'm trying to do stuff. And it ain't because it's 2020. That's just another date to me. I don't care about New Year or anything else.
You slammed that biscuit down
I did. Morning. I ate a biscuit this morning. Now, if Lance Schilling's watching this, I take it out on Steve.
Had chicken and egg and cheese on it, so it's good.
Up. See, that right there is how I mute myself when I go, shut the up.
You finished the hash browns before we got out of the parking lot of Chick-fil-A.
I was on the phone. I don't even know what you're talking about. You know, I was talking to Jesus about my health.
There we go.
Right there. Shut up, Steve.
But you had a Diet Coke, so even better.
There you go. You're balanced.
At what point in time did Steve start getting an opinion on things? I mean, at what point in time, where did Steve start believing his own press that he could just give all the information out?
I think that's the first sign of the end times.
I think it's the first sign of Steve looking for a new job is what I'm thinking.
I'm always looking for a new job. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Oh, we know. Party Foul Steve.
Another job, not a new job. I'm always looking
I know.
for
You're always sidelining.
That's right.
PartyFoulNation.com. I want to get into this whole deal. Iran decided to flex a little muscle last night. And everybody's talking about that because apparently everybody on the planet, especially everybody on Twitter, is now a geopolitical expert on Islamic affairs and religion. And they know everything there is to know about Iran and Iraq and Yemen and Afghanistan and the Saudis and, American politics and what's going on. They know about the difference between cruise missiles and all these kind of different things. They had a plane crash last night. I'm going to talk about that a little bit because I have my theories there. I'm sure Candace does because she's a conspiracy theorist. But we welcome back into the podcast studio today my buddy Clint Emerson. Clint Emerson, former Navy SEAL. Can you ever really be a former Navy SEAL?
It's either former or retired.
Exactly. Yeah. Retired.
Retired, yeah.
Retired Navy SEAL and not CIA, but he's done some weird stuff in his life. You got to get his latest book. It's my latest and most favorite read. And that is Right Kind of Crazy. If you don't have his book, I'm telling you, when I read 100 Deadly Skills, when I read that, I started thinking, I went on a shopping spree. I started buying gear. I was reading 100, picking locks.
Yeah.
And I would just all kind of crazy stuff. I started sending you clandestine messages about how can I get my hands on this and that.
Yep, it's got all kinds of good. It's got some taboo stuff. I'm sure you were interested in the modified butt plug.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
How to dispose of a body.
That's exactly right. Those are really fantastic and useful skills because you never know if we're going into World War III. If Iran makes landfall right here, bam! If they invade, if you're going to want to know how to hide stuff in your butt.
That's right, Red Dawn. Red Dawn.
You take that deal right there, just the modified butt plug and how to take a cigar tube. And I don't want to give away the book, but it's amazing. Like, I was trying to think, that's a pretty big plug.
Well, you buy the stubbies.
You buy,
yeah. Yeah.
And a fold-over toothbrush.
Those have a lot of girth on them.
It might have a lot of girth.
I was trying to figure out, and a lot of the cigars that Steve and I get come in the glass ones, and I was like, no, we need to get the plastic because the glass.
Fancy.
I'm not
it's
that
the
freaky.
Aluminum ones are the best. You just as soon as that
Lord.
cap kind of passes the sphincter, you got to worry about it kind of cutting something on the edge there. Lots of KY
stuff.
though.
It's good stuff. You got to really gel up. I'd be afraid that I'd get in an intense situation. All of a sudden, I'd just poop out my supplies.
That's right.
There it goes across the room somewhere.
No squatting. Yeah.
First, you got to decide whether you want it easy going in or easy coming out.
Yeah.
Depends which way you want to.
Yeah.
It's rounded on one end, it's flat on the other. So.
That's right.
Look, so there's thousands of people who watch this show and listen to this show, and I'm telling you, every one of you right now, before you do anything else, go get Clint's book, The Right Kind of Crazy, because I'm telling you, you will never look at Clint the same way. When you read some of these stories, you've lived a heck of a life, dude. I mean, everybody has their life and their life stories. You've been through a lot, though.
Yeah, I think everyone has a story, and there's something to gain or learn from all of them. But I definitely wanted to share that if you're not morally or ethically correct, and if your integrity isn't the highest, it's okay. Because, there's a lot of us like that. And really that book is like sinner versus saint. It's seal versus husband. There's a lot of underlying themes that I think a lot of people relate to, especially because most people won't admit to half the shit I admit to in that thing. So
that's the funny thing. So I've told some stories, not all, but I've told some stories talking about it with one of my boys who has some military aspirations. And I said, just know that the SEALs is not for you, because he has this huge sense of justice. Like everything has to be black and white and and I said, no.
Yeah.
You wouldn't, it wouldn't gel with you. And I tell him a couple of stories. He's like, yeah, well, I don't understand why you would do that. And I said, exactly. You don't have the right kind of crazy.
Yeah. There's a gray area, at least during my era, where, and I was telling you earlier, we're more of pirates than we are knight in shining armor. And it's all about getting the job done. Sayings like, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, you can't even say those out loud anymore. But that relates directly to, hey, do whatever it takes to win against your adversary. Unfortunately, some of us let it bleed over into our personal lives, and you end up divorced.
Yeah. I told Candace earlier before you came into the studio today, I said, I read your books, and I'm like, there's so many questions off the record that I don't want to text you. Like, let's just talk with no cameras around and stuff. So just trust me, get the book. Right Kind of Crazy. It's out right now. Mark, you just said you were up in Lynchburg, Virginia, and you were in a bookstore.
Yeah, I saw the book in there, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
looks familiar. So
it's in the bookstores. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it. I get it on the Apple Bookstore. Read everything from there. So yeah, that's go get it. Before we get into this conversation, though, let's pay some bills. Happy New Hair Year to you guys. Listen. I hope by now you have discovered that Keep's hair loss treatment is going to help you. And I say happy new hair because you're well on your way to keeping the hair you've had. So listen up, 66% of men will even experience new hair growth when they use Keeps. That's what we're hearing, at least. It's amazing technology because we know that losing your hair sucks. So do something about it. Go to keeps.com/loss. Keeps offers the generic versions of the two FDA-approved hair loss products that are out there, but they're generic versions, and they're going to save you a lot of money. Now, you have nothing to lose, got nothing to wait for. With Keeps, you can save your hair without ever leaving your couch. All you got to do, go online, answer just a few questions, snap a few pics of your hair, and a licensed doctor is going to review your info, recommend the right treatment for you, and then it's going to be shipped discreetly right to your home. So happy new hair. I got the deal for you. Go to keeps.com/loss, keeps.com/loss. Get your first order of Keeps hair loss treatment for 50% off and get your order done today. I think they'll even give you a free doctor consult if you go in there right now. Go to keeps.com/loss. Go do it. So, Iran. I want to play, speaking of gray areas, I want to play a little clip for you right here from the person who could have been the president of the United States. Candice, go.
I want the Iranians to know that if I'm the president, we will attack Iran. whatever stage of development they might be in their nuclear weapons program in the next 10 years, during which they might foolishly consider launching an attack on Israel, we would be able to totally obliterate them. That's a terrible thing to say, but those people who run Iran need to understand that.
Well, there you go. Hillary Rodham Clinton. She could have been your president. And so for those of you on the left who are just literally blowing up the internet about how this assassination, let's just call it what it was, this killing of Soleimani, Qasem Soleimani there in Iraq, everybody wants to call him a commander. They want to call him a general. Look, the left can't figure out if men are supposed to have periods. I don't expect them to be able to dictate whether or not a person is a terrorist or a, quote, general. So I know you folks are confused out there, but the world is a better place without him in it. And now, of course, Iran says we're going to respond. I'm getting all the noodle messages. Hey, look, if you're going to attack me, do it in a language I can read. I don't know Spanish, all right? So you got to come at me with the English. They said, somebody said, Iran get hard revenge to me this morning. Iran get hard revenge. And I was like, Keeps.com is the new sponsor. Get Roman is the old sponsor. If you're going to get hard, you're going to need them. But the promo code probably still works. Clint.
Yes. On that note,
Clint, let's get hard. I mean, this is a good deal, right? I mean, going in there, we had the Secretary of Defense yesterday who did a press conference. And he said we were not weeks, we were a matter of days before some form of attack. We don't know the intelligence that was there, but some form of attack was potentially coming that was planned by Soleimani. Is that just lip service, and did we go in and do the right thing in this regard, or was it a premature action?
I mean, from my experience, these guys have been operating against us for decades, but they've just been doing it in a covert manner that has never been televised or put out there. And any time they have done something and we've caught them, whether it's dropping drones into Abqaiq, Saudi Arabia and trying to disrupt the oil supply chains, whether it's, putting limpet mines on the side of tankers coming out of the Persian Gulf, whether it was putting agents inside Yemen to interfere with our operations against AQ. I mean, they have been on our ass for a very long time. And this has been the first time publicly where we've overtly just taken out the guy who's been planning all of those types of missions against the United States. And it's always covert because, as we know, Iran's economy cannot support a conventional war, nor would they ever want to get involved with us. They don't have the hardware, they don't have the experience, and they know they would lose. And so they rely solely on the covert side of the house, along like a lot of our other adversaries. The Russians run a good covert campaign, and we know that North Korea and a couple others do the same thing. They just can't afford they can't go toe to toe with us. So they do all this other cowardly stuff to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at, you mentioned the hardware. And let's break that down a little bit. And I'm not going to talk exact numbers because I don't have them here in front of me, but we can get close. When you talk about aircraft carriers, we got a few hundred. They have zero. When you talk about fighter jets, we have a few thousand. They have a couple of hundred, maybe. They're severely outnumbered. They've got a population of 70 million. We've got a population of 330 million. And when you start taking in how many people we have in military versus them, and I let me just say, I'll be honest with you, I'm not talking about the average Iranian person that's out there, the average person, the citizen that's out there. And I think people forget that when they take to the streets this death to America stuff, a lot of those people are paid protesters. A lot of them are folks who are trained from childhood to say these things, taught in school to do that. We tend to think of the Middle East and even places like Persia of being like America. They're not.
Not even close.
Regard. There's a different kind of mindset. And I saw when that plane crashed, the commercial plane crashed last night, and you see these Iranian men who are carrying people out in bags, and you almost feel a sense of compassion because here's a person who now all this stuff's going on, but here's just a person who's out there carrying dead bodies off, and you kind of like, damn, there's still human beings here who are having to deal with all of this stuff. And sometimes it's hard to separate the state of Iran and what you think of them versus the citizen that's on the ground. Am I thinking wrong about that?
No, I think you're right. I mean, one, on the numbers game, you're right. I've seen their Navy. It's equivalent to like 2 tugboats with a 50 cal like zip tied to the front of the to the bow of the boat. I mean, they don't really have a Navy. As far as numbers, yeah, they're like 400,000 strong, and we have almost 2 million, and that's active duty. We've got another 1 million in reserve, you know. As far as hardware, yeah, I mean, we crush everyone across the planet on technology. So, but yeah, as you fast forward to these events, you know, they're brought up in a culture that's very closed off to the rest of the world. So they only know what they know, and you can't blame them for that. And they don't allow too much of that, you know, external news media. They control all that social side. And so, and when you talk about protests, there's consequence if you don't show up. You know, that's the other piece of the equation. They know if they're not out on the streets trampling one another, then they're probably going to face some kind of consequence for no showing that day. Yeah. But, yeah, I think they're all average people. And all the way up until this, I mean, all you heard about was how Iran's people are tired of the leadership, tired of what's going on inside, especially the younger generation. They're, like, done. And they want a change. And now, all of a sudden, it looks like they're, you know, they're against America, and they've teamed up because of this act. But deep down, I think they know. You know, there's the human aspect. Someone in a cage eventually realizes that they were born in a cage. You know, they do have free will and a free mind.
And you go back, I mean, I tweeted out. Of course, people get pissed when I tweet stuff like this. But again, I'm tongue-in-cheek with everything. I'm like, you know, these Persian women are hot when you unwrap them. So let's go liberate some ladies.
Some of them.
Some of them. The genetics has kind of gone downhill.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But I mean, you go back and you see some of these girls from back in the 60s and 70s, these Iranian girls at the beach, and I'm like, smoke shows. If you looked at them, Natalie, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, and anyone who isn't these days, you can make them pretty.
Oh, yeah? You just shave their backs?
Fix them up. There's a lot you can do over here in the States.
That's right.
Steven did it.
Make an ugly girl pretty.
Yeah.
You just unroll that hairy burrito.
Yeah.
Snatch that thing off. See, people get mad at me. People are like, oh, my God, you're making jokes while our people are being attacked. And I'm like, we've been being attacked for a long time now, so I'm going to keep making jokes.
Not to mention those were planned misses, I think. We can all agree on that.
So my buddy, I'm going to give him a shout-out, my buddy Cameron Rupp, he's professional baseball catchers with the Phillies, and he's free agent now. Somebody's got to sign him. He texted me last night, and he's like, what do you think? And I said, I think we're going to find these were strategic misses.
Yeah.
They had to flex the muscle a little bit. Mm-hmm. And, you know, unfortunate thing. 2 questions. First of all, do you think it's fair to say, can we call what happened with Soleimani an assassination? I know the government hates using words like that, but for lack of better terms.
Right. I mean, I would label it that. It was several bad guys having a meeting, and they got whacked in the middle of it. Yeah. So, yeah.
So, and Ronald Reagan had the executive action 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, and people look at that, and if Candace, you correct me as well, Clint, on this thing. Mm-hmm. But if I'm understanding that right, can't send the CIA in or official government agencies in to just whack somebody. But there are unaffiliated folks who can go in. Like, I read a Brad Thor book. I read a Scott Harvath novel. You know, he's the character in the thing, and that's basically who that guy is. You know, how prevalent are those assets to be able to do stuff like that?
Yeah, that executive order is put there so that it shows the world that we follow a certain set of rules and that we're not going to go after executives, right? The executive suite. But if you're a military leader, well, then, you know, you can be targeted. So, you know, would it be defined as an assassination by terms of any executive order? Probably not. Mm-hmm. But because it was a military action against a military person meeting with some bad guys, then it falls under a different realm. And it's kind of funny, you know, the government tends to mold things to, you know, skirt around certain things on certain operations just so we can get the damn thing done. You know, if you really followed every little law to the T or everything that's written in policy, we'd have a hard time getting anything done overseas, you know?
Yeah.
But so there are these, you know, these back doors that allow us to get the job done. But at the same time, we don't want to take out another leader because then that opens up the door for our leaders to be taken out. And that's really that's why that executive order is there.
And I can, and you talk about it in the book where you talk about when you were dealing with pirates and those guys, they make a beeline for Iranian waters.
Right.
Because if they could get into those waters, you basically couldn't touch them. That was one of those, we're obeying the rules.
Right.
Now, you're out here in open water, we're going to kick your ass, but once you get in there, we're turning back.
Yeah, that 12 nautical line mark, and this was back before 9/11, and there was an embargo against anything coming out of Iraq. And our jobs were to enforce that in the maritime side of the house. So they were smuggling oil and weapons and you name it. And so we would have to board those ships because they were non-compliant. They would turn out all their lights and fly dark. And anybody who's been out in the middle of the ocean in the middle of the night, that's about as dark as it gets. And so we would see them pop up on radar and then basically board those ships without the bridge ever knowing was the goal.
You said a lot of times those guys would weld themselves into the bridge.
Over time, because they didn't know how we were getting on board because the way we do it, and we just show up in the bridge with ninja mask on and a
Redacted.
gun, and we're taking these ships back, over time they started learning like, all right, we gotta. They would do all kinds of stuff. They'd put up concertina wire around the perimeter of the ship so that you couldn't like climb directly over. And sometimes it worked, but most time it doesn't. But yeah, their biggest move was to hug that international Iranian line, which is 12 nautical miles out from anybody's shore. And then they would just break left, and get inside of it. And if they did, then we'd have to get off the boat because the Iranian boats would then come and just start finding a reason to shoot at you, really.
Yeah. With that 50 cal.
That one little 50 cal, yeah.
Candace, you got anything else? You got any questions over there? I know you chomp at the bit, so I never know. I don't want to get away from this.
No, I think that pretty much answered it because you can't officially call it an assassination, but if he just so happens to be there randomly, unbeknownst to the government, quote unquote, and that airport got bombed, there's really nothing you could do about it. But I still find that really, really interesting.
Yeah.
So that's, and the other question I was going to ask you, I want your thoughts on this. I want everybody's thoughts on this. So that Boeing 737-800 goes down last night. It's leaving out of Tehran. It's going to Kiev. Close to 200 people on board. It's on fire. You can see the video of it. Somebody shoots a video. It's on fire. It goes down. It crashes. Some of the Iranians that reported they went down into their bunkers. They went down in their cellars thinking that the Americans were attacking back. And they come out and there's body parts all over the place and there's airplane parts all over the place because they didn't realize what was going on. They just heard it. You think this is air missile defense on Iran's part that takes down their own commercial jetliner? Because they won't release the black box.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they had an equivalent to Patriot missiles that were armed and ready just in case. I mean, why wouldn't you? Yeah. Right? You're telling the world that you're going to retaliate, and you happen to be saying you're going to retaliate against the country with the biggest stick. So I would have all systems armed, ready, and whatever their equivalent to Patriots basically intercept inbound rockets or missiles. And my guess is even ours in Iraq probably took out a bunch of missiles in the sky before they even hit the ground.
That would be my guess too, and that's what I was thinking. You got any thoughts on that? I mean, they don't release the black box, so I'm thinking there's got to be some kind of a umbrella defense system that's going on there. I mean, first of all, who the hell jumps on a commercial airplane at that time of night and takes off out of Tehran and doesn't have the communication? Hey, air traffic control, maybe clue us in.
Right.
That we're about to start throwing 30 missiles. I'm just wondering, because 4 of those missiles failed. I want to know if Obama wants a refund.
Let's just hope their nuclear power plant doesn't fail.
Well,
because didn't they have an earthquake too?
They had an earthquake, and then the planes falling out. It's really some 10 plagues going on.
Inshallah. That's what they would say.
Inshallah. Yeah.
God's will.
And get Jesse Ventura on the phone. That's what I tweeted a little while ago, because he said that the tsunamis in Japan were all man-made and stuff like that. So maybe, I don't know if we got that kind of earthquake technology or not. But
I'm
there's
sure
a button in the Oval Office.
Yeah, it's the weather button. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
they're really wagging the dog on that one. But no, I look at this thing and I know the thought. I also tweeted the other day. I said I've just started telling millennials that World War III already happened, so they'll shut up about it because they haven't read a history book to know.
That's what I say. They've been at war with us.
They've been at war for 40 years.
Yeah, this is nothing new.
So I mean, they've been technically at war since 732 A.D.
That's right.
Iran has been. So that part of the world has been just absolutely a nightmare.
Red flag of doom.
It's horrible, right? But for 40 years, I mean, this stuff started basically with the Carter administration going on, and we've just never truly dealt with that.
Right.
It's always been a thing.
It's the first time we just faced them and said, all right, you know what? We're done. We're going to kill some people, and they're going to get over it. They're already over it, if you think about it. Those planned misses was part of the, okay, I got to please my people, but I don't want to hurt them.
Right. And we can say we killed 30 people. We know we didn't kill anybody, but let's tell our people. And you got to remember, now you say, well, how can they get away with that? All right, first of all, they can't even use credit cards in Iran because of the economic sanctions. I mean, this is a cash-only system. They can't even run a plastic card over there. So when I say that, if you don't think they can control the media and control what's on the internet and all of that, I mean, it's 100% controlled.
Yeah, it was 30 people dead and a bunch of helicopters destroyed and some drones destroyed. I mean, they racked up a little list of stuff to make the population feel like, yeah.
And what do you think about in terms, you hear people talk about these folks, and when I say these folks, I'm talking about a lot of your Muslim extremists to your terrorists to your Islamic nations that tend to be rogue. They play the long game. They're not looking for immediate revenge.
No, they do a good job, I think, being patient, and part of that is the culture. In my experience, I grew up over there from the second grade to high school, living in Saudi, which is probably your most radical Muslim state on the planet.
I know it's your favorite place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's your favorite place.
But they tend to, they're okay with waiting, right?
Yeah.
They live by inshallah, which is God's will. If God wants me to show up on time for this meeting today, well then, maybe I'll show up on time. And that applies to their work ethic and a lot of other stuff. They really let the religion guide their days, their months, their years. So therefore, they're never really in a rush to do anything, especially when it comes to revenge. But we've also seen when they take time and they do plan something and they're methodical about it and they fund it properly, then you have a 9/11 happen, and it was all, there's a lot of Saudi money and Saudis involved in that. But, we have a lot of enemies over there, and we choose our friends wisely based on strategy, and keeping Saudi in our, we're in their back pocket or they're in ours or whichever, but that's the whole point, is because of Iran. I mean,
let's call it what it is, this Saudi circle jerk that exists right there. And I don't like it. I've never liked it. I don't know what it is. I mean, I can speculate all day long, and some guests would be pretty hypothetically accurate, but Trump seems to continually appease them, and it's a circle jerk.
Yeah.
But I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean,
and I have people all the time who will come at me on the internet or whatever, and they're like, "Yeah, but what about Saudi?" And I'm like, "Well, them too." I mean,
yeah.
I just did that for Candace's purposes right there, so she'd have something to bleep.
Just beep purposes. Yeah.
I mean, don't you? I mean, what is your thought there?
Yeah, I think Saudi. What people don't realize is the radical side of Islam that grew in Saudi decades ago was because of the relationship with the West. So what happens every time a new U.S. president goes to Saudi and walks around with the king, it irritates the living shit out of the population. They don't like the relationship. They don't want any of that influence coming in. They want to keep Mecca as pure as possible. And so what do? We televise the relationship, and that's what fires them up. It's kind of like this. It's kind of ironic if you think about it, right? We're going and thinking, oh, well, if we've got Mecca on our side, the rest of the Middle East will kind of stop acting that way towards the West, or maybe they'll like us one day. But the reality is that culture and their thought processes, none of us will ever truly understand. I grew up there and I don't understand it. Yeah. But I know for a fact that anytime you put the West on the news networks and its relationship with Saudi, it doesn't help us. Yeah. It was bred because of, the AQ came out of hate and discontent for the relationship the royals had with the West. They don't even like the royal family. They're certainly not going to like us. They just don't attack them because it's one of them, so they attack us instead. But they don't like it at all across the board. I know that.
Do you think it's possible to get anywhere using conventional warfare in the Middle East? I mean, you're fighting an ideology. Do you think it's possible at all to get there?
I think now, at 15, 20 years of what's been going on, I think it's proven that it can work, but you better have a really good post-war plan, right? You can't stop, coming and going, every time call it a surge. Let's remove troops and then come back. I've definitely said it a couple times. We still occupy Europe to this day, and no one likes to hear it that way, but we have bases, we have deployments, and we have been occupying Europe since World War II. We really wanted to rebuild it and bring it back. And if you look at our deficit before Reagan, the debt, it anchors all the way back to rebuilding Europe in World War II, a majority of our debt, know? So since then, we have changed kind of our play on things. We go in, we hit it, and then we leave, but you have to stay for the long haul. And I think that's the plan you have to figure out well ahead of time before you start, putting troops and tanks on the ground.
Yeah.
And I think we've learned that lesson.
Saw somebody the other day that posted a picture. It was a map of Iran, and then it was showing it had little flags that showed where all of the U.S. military bases were in the region surrounding Iran. It says, yeah, but Iran's the aggressors. I'm like, well, that is the post-war, which we're not in a post-war situation there, but that's kind of the thing. I mean, once you do it, you saw what happened with a regime, quote-unquote regime change after killing Hussein in Iraq, and we're still dealing with this nonsense.
Right. And what's unfortunate, the goal, I think, any time is you want the military piece of the equation to be the smallest, and it's the easiest, and you want it to be forgotten. The rest of the time, the military is there. They're waving the flag. They're digging wells. They're rebuilding buildings. But unfortunately, none of that gets reported, right? When there's nothing going on in Afghanistan or Iraq, which there's plenty of times there's nothing going on, but good things, handing out MREs, cases of water. I mean, you name it. That's what they're doing when they're not defending themselves. They truly are trying to rebuild the nations and allow them to be as democratic as possible as the culture will allow it. But of course, it's never seen that way because it's military people and armored up vehicles cruising around doing it.
That's a great point.
But it takes, the goal is you occupy the area, you want your military action, that's where I'm talking about bullets and bombs. You want that to be the smallest piece of the equation, and then the rest of the time is all about rebuilding.
Yeah.
That's
the thing. That's a great point. Now I want to go find that person and tell them. Now that get back on their little meme.
Yeah.
Everywhere you see a flag, guess what? Humanitarian aid's taking place.
Yeah. You want the flag to represent peace and democracy over time. And fortunately, it never starts that way when you're going into areas owned by dictators. Yeah. And it's easy to forget that they were owned by a dictator at one time. I was part of the initial surge, and people were on the streets in Iraq cheering America, chanting USA, USA, USA as we drove down the roads. Unfortunately, over time, and when the economy of the place started to change and the insurgency started picking up out of hate and discontent, like, well, I was happier before with Saddam because, he's a dictator. Yeah, he killed a bunch of us, every now and then, and so did his sons. But for that moment in time, people were pissed, right? Because their way of life has changed, and embracing change is very difficult.
Yeah, and I think everybody gets it, at least on the cerebral level, or at least on the surface. Most of us at this point, we've heard it enough times, but you can't be reminded enough that this mindset in places like that, and that's where we started this conversation, it's so different from the way we think in the West.
Yeah.
So different. What they've been through, what they've experienced, what they've done, the way they approach things, it's so different. And we just think that we're going to go in there and clean house, and it's just people are going to be like, oh, well, now I'm going to be Western too.
Well, it's difficult to change that there, especially. I mean, they're set in their ways, and I think you bring up a good point. Like, cultural awareness is usually a deficiency of Americans. We're not good at understanding other countries' cultures, their history, what they've been through, and especially on the DOD side of the head. I mean, that's not our job, right? Yeah. Anytime people go, oh, you speak a bunch of language, like, I'm never showing up to talk to anybody. So no, I don't speak any languages.
Nope, not there to go talk.
Yeah, no talking's going on if a SEAL team shows up.
Black Rifle Coffee is one of our sponsors. I'll tell you what, you said if I'm going to drink Army coffee, I got to do it out of a Navy mug. So there it is. You can get it right there to the camera. There it is. You can get that. It's 100deadlyskills.com, right? Is that your website?
ViolentNomad.com.
ViolentNomad.com is where you get these.
Be the Violent Nomad.
Violent Nomad. Outwit, outmove, outlive. Outplan is actually the first one. Outplan, outwit, outmove, outlive. Clint doesn't know it yet, but every year I put together my dream team of like if the shit goes down, who am I? Who's on my team? Clint's on the team. Y'all aren't on the team. Y'all bring nothing if the shit goes down. Literally nothing.
I will make you a peanut butter and jelly.
No.
I'm going to remember this.
No,
Next week in, where are we going? Everett, Washington?
I'll remember it when I pay you for it. No. I'm talking about Dream Team. Dream Team.
Hey, you're not on my dream. Now, Natalie might be on my dream team.
Well, you're just making stuff up. You're not truly preparing for stuff.
I'm not.
I'm talking about if stuff goes down.
You're prepping.
Stuff goes down.
Who's on your dream team?
Clint Emerson's on the Dream Team.
Okay.
I can tell you that.
That's the Red Dawn, right?
That's
Red Dawn.
If stuff goes down. Like if it goes down.
Could I just by default
You don't want to be on this team, Natalie.
Joseph with the gun range?
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
Just
Trust
pray
me,
about it.
I already have a list of places to go get the supplies.
Okay.
But Grapevine's a little drive from the house, so I'm making sure that I got a little bit of stuff closer to the house too.
All right.
I know some people down in Alvarado, Texas. I promise you, they're not coming down there. That's a whole bunch of booby-trapped rednecks.
So you got to put a team together that's going to go take over like one of the gun range or Cabela's, and you go in there and you just take it over.
Lock it down.
Lock it down.
My problem, this is what people tend to forget. Now, you go over there to Texas Gun Experience a time or two and realize how fast those fully auto magazines go. Brrr, there's $40 and gone, 20 bucks. And that happened in 4 seconds.
It's a lot of money, yeah.
And you're like, oh, God, somebody's got to reload this.
Was it good for you?
Somebody's got to reload this. It ain't a John Wick movie.
That's right.
War is not a John
Every bullet counts.
They've got a guy that's all he does is reload magazines all
It's crazy.
day, especially on
I
Fridays.
saw a meme the other day about for these young kids that think they're getting drafted. They've got a new selector switch. It says pew 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 and then pew 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 pew.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
So that's the whole deal. I would keep mine set on pew pew. I want 3 shot bursts. I want 3 bullet bursts. Really. I don't want to shoot the whole wad.
That's the smaller choice, yeah. You don't want to keep reloading mags. Nobody likes that. Or picking up brass.
That's crazy. Yeah. Exactly. And that's the thing. That's the cool thing that they did is they have a trough. They built a trough behind all their ranges. They just rake them in there and it puts them all. It falls through the hole. That's a pretty cool deal, right there. Texas Gun Experience, Grapevine, Texas, Main Street. Boom. Right there at the airport. Nice. That's you know what? They should give me something for that. Oh, you? Okay, Natalie, you can be on the Dream Team. Jury's still out on Steve, but you're on the Dream Team.
High five.
There you go. And he high-fived her.
There you go, yeah.
I know the real truth.
There's already a mutiny going on.
Like, what's that last picture you sent me?
Yeah.
Some bar in Florida.
You're in.
That's okay.
All right.
I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
Candace, any final thoughts?
I think we covered it. I liked it.
All right, good. I like it too.
A lot of information
you guys
to digest.
Over here, Steve, Natalie, any final thoughts on Iran? Are we going?
No, we're not
boots
going
on the
to
ground.
war.
World War III. What should
is,
we be afraid of? MREs? Do we need them? Do we need to put in some?
You should always have 2 weeks worth. Period. The minimum 2 weeks of food, 2 weeks of water.
I think if it's this controlled miss, I don't know if their message is a warning or if they're just scared, but they feel like they needed to retaliate.
Element of both, I would assume.
There's this one time I hit one of my buddies. He's about 6'4", 280, and I punched him. He said, "I'm gonna let you have that one." Yeah. And that's what Trump's gonna do with this. He's gonna say, "I'm gonna let y'all have that."
Well, I go back to it's a win. It's a win there because he took out Soleimani, which needed to happen, honestly.
And I'll trade a controlled miss for Soleimani.
And you're gonna. I mean, you had boats, you had blockades, you had oil fields, you had drones. That wasn't a loss of human life. Then all of a sudden you lose a human contractor, American contractor. Trump says, "I told you not to do that.
Right?
Told you not to kill anybody, but you did it.
Right.
So now you got to smoke somebody."
That's right.
And he went ahead and smoked a big one.
Yeah, he did good. Good job.
I liked it.
You like smoking a fat one? I mean,
Yeah.
a big one, whatever. Oh, Clint, you
That
bring
could
out
lead
the
it.
best
That
of me,
could
my
lead it.
friend.
Yeah, it goes in the gutter.
I know. Hey, check him out on Twitter and Instagram and all the good places at 100 Deadly Skills, and that is 100 Deadly Skills. Get the book 100 Deadly Skills. Also get Right Kind of Crazy, and you'll love it. I promise you. You're going to enjoy it and you're going to have a fun time reading it. It's got incredible illustrations. The guy you got to illustrate that did a fantastic job.
Tom Mandrake. Yeah, he's been drawing for DC and Marvel. I mean, for decades.
Yeah.
So yeah, he knows what he's doing. You can send him. I could literally just tell him a story, and then he just puts it together, this work of art. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
It's pretty incredible, the stuff that he's done. Because, I mean, like the stories you tell, the narratives you give, there's no way to just throw photos in there of that. But he's drawn it in such a way that it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it does put you in the moment with a little bit of that kind of superhero twist.
We got pictures in it. I'm definitely going to get it.
It's pretty, and you'll forget because you're reading the book and you're engrossed in the stories of the book, and then all of a sudden you'll turn the page and bam, there's an illustration of it. And you're like, oh, that is badass right there. And you just never know when one's going to pop up. So pretty cool stuff.
That's the goal.
Pretty cool stuff. Go get the book, dadgummit. Go get the book, Clint Emerson. Check it out, and go get your. I'm going to break these off and smack Steve with them.
There you go.
They don't quite go on my fat knuckles, but yeah, that's awesome.
It's okay.
Lay off at Chick-fil-A.
I got to get I got to get some real brass knuckles. I had some when I was a kid.
They're now you can legally carry them in the state of Texas now.
You can legally carry them.
As of
That's
like
that
3 months ago.
My Benchmade Infidel that I purchased from Texas Gun Well, DFW Shooting Sports back when you guys were that. People were like, you can't carry that, and I'm like, can in Texas. Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the crazy thing on that, if you stick that up against something and try to like eject the blade, the spring's going to fail on it.
They wouldn't let me take my pink knife into Bass Hall the other night.
You went and hid it somewhere, didn't you?
I did. I went and put it on top of the sign right outside the front door. And if it had been $100 knife, it wouldn't have been there. But it was $12 knife. I can't get rid of it.
They should have because it's pink.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Yeah, I mean,
when we got through 2 hours later, it was still up there.
Yeah.
Matched his dress.
All right, we go get out of here. Find us out on tour, as Steve mentioned, going to be in Everett, Washington. Got a show there on the 18th. And then, of course, we're going to be in Rocky Mount, Virginia on the 24th of January. Then on the 30th, the 31st, we're in Visalia and Bakersfield, California. On the 1st of February, going to be in Reno, Nevada. Go to watchchad.com, the all-new Am I Crazy comedy tour. We're having a blast all over the place. Going to have some fun. You never know what's going to come out. And, of course, Steve's got the Love Y'all, God Bless Poke shirts that's on there. If y'all follow very much, you know what the poke means, and everybody needs a little poke in their life. Yep. You can get the Unapologetic Patriot shirts and a bunch of other stuff.
There's even Herbert the Deer.
Herbert
on
the Silent Deer. Look at that shot of Mark and Candace. Y'all can see Herbert back over their head. You see him peeking out there over that Marshall speaker. There's Herbert. He's still here.
And he has a microphone in front of his face on the shirt.
On the shirt, like he did in the old studio. Yep. When we moved over here, everybody's like, where the hell is Herbert? Where the hell is Herbert? He's still here. He's just checking things out. He's still got that same look on his face as when he got hit by the truck. Right there. There it is. And got a great Herbert the Silent Deer Studio 22 shirt. All kind of stuff. WatchChad.com. Check it out. Go to PartyFoulNation.com. Get your Party Foul Nation gear and have a good time. And a Beer for Brunch podcast. Yeah. Be sure to go to Party Foul Nation on YouTube and check that out. That y'all are having fun doing that.
We're having fun. We're adding another program, not just mine and Matt's Beer for Brunch. We're adding a barbecue program once a week that starts today. It's our Wednesday.
Yeah, so if y'all get tired of all the politics, y'all can do that.
There's no politics over there. It's just
hang out. I don't know who would get tired of politics. I love it.
I do too. I
love all the bitching and fighting. It's fantastic. It reminds me of home. Hey, we'll check you next time. Clint's coming back very, very quickly. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about how to survive an active shooter scenario. You get caught in a situation like that. You're in a public place. Clint's going to break it down. All kinds of stuff. I love y'all. God bless. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.